Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we are going to explore an exciting topic for coin collectors, treasure hunters, and anyone who enjoys checking old coins from pocket change. Our focus today is the 1998 United States 1-cent coin, also known as the Lincoln Memorial Cent. Let's get started fast up. We are talking about the 1983 D. Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin, a coin struck at the Denver Mint and identified by the small D mint mark beneath the date on the obverse. If you have a 1983 D penny sitting in an old collection, a jar of coins, or even a box of loose change, you might be wondering whether it is worth more than its 1-cent face value. The 1983 D Lincoln Cent is especially interesting because the early 1980s were an important period in United States coinage. Collectors were paying close attention to Lincoln cents as the United States Mint continued producing coins in large quantities while the composition and manufacturing processes of cents were changing. Although the majority of 1983 D pennies are not rare and can still be found by collectors, certain examples can become much more desirable when they are preserved in exceptional condition or display an important minting era or variety. In today's video, we will explore the history and background of the 1983 D Lincoln Cent, examine its unique features, discuss what makes some examples more collectible than others, look at the potential market and auction values in US dollars, and share important tips for anyone who believes they may have a valuable 1983 D penny. So if you enjoy rare coins, valuable pennies, and fascinating discoveries hiding in everyday collections, make sure you stay with us until the end. The 1983 D Lincoln Memorial Cent belongs to the long-running Lincoln Cent series that began in 1909. The obverse of the coin features the famous portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, while the reverse displays the Lincoln Memorial. The Lincoln Memorial design was introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, and continued to appear on the 1-cent coin until 2008, when the reverse design changed as part of the Lincoln Bicentennial Program. The 1983 D cent was produced at the Denver Mint, one of the major United States mint facilities responsible for producing circulating coinage. The D mint mark on the coin tells collectors that the piece was struck in Denver. During the early 1980s, the United States Mint was producing enormous quantities of Lincoln cents for everyday commerce, meaning that many 1983 D examples entered circulation and were heavily used. The composition of the 1983 D Lincoln Cent is also an important part of its story. The coin is made primarily of copper-coated zinc, with a copper outer layer surrounding a zinc core. This composition was introduced for Lincoln cents beginning in 1982 as the United States Mint sought to reduce the cost of producing the 1-cent coin. This makes the 1983 D cent different from the older bronze Lincoln cents that collectors often associate with earlier decades. Because the 1983 D cent was struck in large numbers, the date and mint mark alone do not normally make an ordinary example rare. However, the story becomes much more interesting when we look at coins that survived in outstanding condition. A coin that spent decades in circulation will normally show scratches, contact marks, discoloration, and wear. By contrast, a coin that was carefully preserved shortly after leaving the mint can remain bright, sharply detailed, and almost untouched. These high-quality examples are the coins that can attract stronger collector interest. One of the most recognizable features of the 1983 D Lincoln Cent is the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse. Lincoln faces to the right, with the inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date, 1983. The small d beneath the date identifies the Denver Mint as the facility where the coin was produced. The reverse of the coin features the Lincoln Memorial, surrounded by the inscriptions United States of America and EPLURBUSUNUM, with the denomination 1 cent at the bottom. When examining a 1983 D cent, collectors should pay close attention to the sharpness of the lettering, the details of Lincoln's hair and facial features, the condition of the memorial building, and the overall quality of the surfaces. The copper-coated zinc composition gives the 1983D cent a distinctive appearance. When the copper coating remains intact and the coin is well preserved, it can display a pleasing reddish or reddish-brown color. Collectors often pay close attention to the original color of Lincoln cents, particularly when evaluating uncirculated examples. Another important feature is the overall strike quality. A well-struck coin can show stronger details and sharper design elements, while a weaker strike may have less definition in certain areas. However, strike quality alone does not necessarily make a common 1983D cent extremely valuable. The combination of condition, originality, eye appeal, and any verified error or variety is much more important when determining collector value. The coin's weight can also be an important diagnostic feature. Because the 1983D cent is a copper-plated zinc coin, collectors can use a precise digital scale and other appropriate tests to help identify unusual pieces. If a coin appears significantly different from a normal example, it may deserve further examination. However, unusual weight by itself does not automatically prove that a coin is rare or valuable. Professional authentication is recommended for any potentially significant error. Now, we come to one of the most important questions. Is the 1983D Lincoln cent actually rare? The answer depends heavily on the specific coin. An ordinary circulated 1983D cent is generally not considered a rare coin. Millions were produced, and many examples remain available today. This means that simply finding a 1983D penny does not automatically mean you have discovered a fortune. However, rarity can change dramatically when we consider condition and minting errors. A high-grade example that has survived with exceptional surfaces, strong luster, and minimal marks can be considerably more desirable than a worn coin that has spent decades in circulation. The higher the certified grade, the fewer coins may exist at that level of preservation. This is where the world of coin collecting becomes particularly exciting. Collectors do not simply ask whether a coin is old. They ask how many examples exist in a particular condition, how attractive the coin is, whether it has been professionally certified, and whether other collectors are actively competing to own it. The 1983D cent can also become much more interesting if it exhibits a genuine mint error. Errors can include off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, doubled features, and other manufacturing abnormalities. However, collectors should be extremely careful because many unusual-looking coins are actually damaged after leaving the mint. Scratches, dents, machine doubling, chemical discoloration, and environmental damage can sometimes be mistaken for valuable mint errors. For this reason, a genuine error should be carefully examined and, when appropriate, authenticated by a respected professional grading service. A verified mint error can potentially transform an otherwise ordinary 1983D cent into a much more desirable collectible. When it comes to the current market value of a 1983D Lincoln cent, there is no single price that applies to every coin. The value depends on condition, grade, color designation, certification, eye appeal, and whether the coin has a recognized variety or genuine mint error. A typical circulated 1983D Lincoln cent may be worth only a small amount above face value, and in many cases it may trade for just a few cents. Even uncirculated examples can remain relatively affordable if they are not particularly high grade or if they lack special characteristics. However, the situation can be very different for coins in exceptional certified condition. A beautifully preserved 1983D cent with a very high numerical grade can command a premium from registry set collectors and specialists. In the highest grades, prices can rise substantially compared with ordinary examples, although the exact value depends on the specific certification, population rarity, and auction demand at the time of sale. Collectors should also understand the difference between an asking price and a confirmed auction result. A seller may list a coin online for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, but that does not necessarily mean the coin is actually worth that amount. Real market value is better determined by examining documented sales of comparable coins, especially certified examples with the same grade and characteristics. For an ordinary circulated 1983D cent, the market value is generally modest. For a nice uncirculated example, the value can increase depending on grade and appearance. For a top-grade certified specimen, the price may reach into the hundreds of dollars in exceptional circumstances. A truly dramatic price would generally require an extraordinary combination of condition, rarity, and collector competition, or a significant and authenticated mint error. This is why viewers should be cautious when hearing claims that every 1983 D penny is worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. Such claims are usually misleading. The most valuable examples are exceptions, not the rule. A coin's actual value must be based on its individual characteristics and verified market evidence. If you believe your 1983 D cent is an exceptional specimen, the best approach is to compare it with recent auction records for coins with the same grade and characteristics. Professional certification can also help establish authenticity and condition, particularly when the coin appears to be in an unusually high grade or displays a possible mint error. If you have a 1983 D Lincoln cent and want to determine whether it might be valuable, begin by examining the coin under good lighting. Look closely at the date and confirm that the mint mark is a D, then inspect the entire coin rather than focusing on one small feature. Pay particular attention to the surfaces. Are there many scratches and contact marks, or does the coin appear almost untouched? Does it still have strong original mint luster? Is the copper coating intact? Is the coin sharply struck? These characteristics can help determine whether the coin deserves a closer look. Avoid cleaning the coin. This is one of the most important rules in coin collecting. Cleaning can leave scratches or unnatural surfaces that significantly reduce collector appeal. Even if a coin looks dirty or dark, it is generally better to leave it in its original condition and allow a professional to evaluate it. If you suspect that your 1983 D cent has a mint error, compare it with a normal example of the same date and mint mark. Look for genuine abnormalities that appear to have occurred during the striking process. Be cautious of damage caused by circulation or machinery after the coin left the mint. A precision scale can also be useful for preliminary examination, but remember that weight alone cannot prove that a coin is a rare error. If your coin appears to have an unusual composition, missing plating, major off-center strike, or another significant feature, professional evaluation is the safest option. For potentially valuable coins, consider submitting the piece to a reputable third-party grading and authentication service. Certification can provide an independent assessment of the coin's condition and authenticity. This can be especially helpful when selling a high-grade coin at auction, because buyers often have greater confidence in professionally certified examples. Finally, keep your expectations realistic. The majority of 1983 D Lincoln cents are common coins, but that does not make them uninteresting. Coin collecting is about history, preservation, and discovery. Even a coin worth only a few cents can be fascinating when you understand where it came from and how it was made. In conclusion, the 1983 D Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin is an interesting piece of American coinage history. Struck at the Denver Mint and carrying the distinctive D Mint mark, it represents an important period when the United States Mint was producing copper-coated zinc cents for everyday circulation. While the typical 1983 D penny is not considered a rare coin, exceptional examples can attract collector interest. Coins preserved in very high grades, pieces with outstanding eye appeal, and especially genuine and authenticated mint errors can be much more desirable than ordinary circulated examples. The key lesson for collectors is that rarity and value are determined by details. The year alone is not enough. The mint mark alone is not enough. What matters is the complete story of the individual coin, its condition, grade, originality, rarity, error status, and demand among collectors. So the next time you come across a 1983 D Lincoln cent, don't immediately throw it aside. Take a closer look. Check the condition, examine the surfaces, inspect the strike, and look for anything unusual. Your coin may not be worth a fortune, but you could discover an interesting variety or an exceptional example that deserves a place in a collection. Remember, the world of coin collecting is full of surprises, and valuable discoveries are sometimes hidden in the most ordinary places. If you enjoyed learning about the 1983 D Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more videos about rare coins, valuable pennies, auction records, and fascinating pieces of American numismatic history. And always remember, before believing a huge price claim, verify the coin, verify the grade, and verify the actual auction record. The real value of a rare coin is determined not by an exciting internet rumor, but by its authenticity, condition, rarity, and what serious collectors are willing to pay in the marketplace. Next up, the 1998 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent, a 1-cent coin struck at the Denver Mint and identified by the small D mint mark beneath the date. At first glance, this coin may appear to be an ordinary modern penny, but when it comes to coin collecting, the story is often much more complicated. The condition, surface quality, mint errors, varieties, and overall preservation of a coin can make a huge difference in its desirability and market value. The particular coin discussed in today's video is described as being in very damaged condition. That detail is extremely important because collectors and viewers should understand that a heavily damaged 1998 D cent is generally not considered a high-value rarity simply because of its date and mint mark. However, the coin can still be interesting from a collecting and educational perspective, especially if it has an unusual mint error or an authentic variety that can be identified separately from ordinary damage. The 1998 D. Lincoln cent in damaged condition really be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. In most cases, the answer is no. But could a rare mint error or an unusual variety dramatically change the story? Absolutely. In today's video, we will explore the history and background of this coin, examine its unique features, discuss rarity and collector demand, look at realistic market values in US dollars, and explain what collectors should do if they believe they have discovered something special. The 1998 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent belongs to one of the longest-running coin designs in United States history. The Lincoln cent, featuring the portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. In 1959, the reverse design was changed to feature the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., marking the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. This Lincoln Memorial reverse continued to appear on U.S. cents until 2008, making the 1998 D cent part of a very important period in American coinage history. The 1998 D cent was produced at the Denver Mint, one of the major United States mint facilities. The D mint mark is located on the obverse side of the coin, below the date and near the edge of the portrait. This small letter tells collectors where the coin was manufactured. The Denver Mint produced enormous quantities of Lincoln cents during this era, meaning that ordinary examples of the 1998 D cent are not generally considered rare. The coin is composed primarily of copper-plated zinc, a composition that became standard for circulating Lincoln cents beginning in 1982. The change from the traditional bronze composition to copper-plated zinc was largely driven by the rising cost of copper. Because the 1998 D cent contains a zinc core covered by a thin copper layer, damage to the outer surface can sometimes expose the underlying metal. This is one reason why damaged examples can develop noticeable discoloration, corrosion, bubbling, or surface deterioration over time. For collectors, the historical importance of the 1998 D cent is not necessarily connected to its mintage alone. Instead, the real interest often comes from finding exceptional condition examples, recognized varieties, or genuine mint errors. A normal circulated coin is usually common, while a coin with an unusual and authenticated characteristic can attract considerably more attention. The 1998 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent has several recognizable features that make it easy to identify. On the obverse, the coin displays the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing right. The inscriptions include Liberty, the year 1998, and the traditional national motto, In God We Trust. The D mint mark below the date confirms that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. On the reverse, the famous Lincoln Memorial appears in the center. Above it is the inscription, United States of America, while EPLUBUSUNUM appears above the building. The denomination, 1 cent, is displayed below the memorial. This design remained familiar to generations of Americans and became one of the most recognizable coin designs in the country. However, the most important feature of a particular 1998 D cent may not be part of the official design at all. Collectors carefully examine coins for minting abnormalities. These can include doubled dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, die breaks, missing design elements, and other errors. It is important to understand that not every unusual-looking feature is a mint error. Damage occurring after the coin leaves the mint is much more common. A coin described as being in very damaged condition may show scratches, gouges, corrosion, environmental damage, discoloration, bending, cleaning, or other forms of deterioration. These problems generally reduce collector value rather than increase it. For example, a deep scratch across Lincoln's portrait is usually considered damage, not an error. Likewise, green corrosion, severe pitting, or a damaged edge caused by circulation or storage does not automatically make a coin rare. This distinction is extremely important for anyone searching for valuable coins. The strongest candidates for premium prices are usually coins with characteristics created during the minting process rather than damage caused afterward. Therefore, if your 1998 D cent looks unusual, the first question should be whether the feature was created at the mint or happened later in the coin's life. The ordinary 1998 D Lincoln cent is not generally considered a major rarity. Millions of Lincoln cents were produced for everyday commerce during this period, and many examples have survived. As a result, a normal circulated 1998 D cent usually has little premium over its 1 cent face value. The situation becomes more interesting when condition enters the picture. Collectors often seek coins with strong original surfaces, attractive color, sharp details, and minimal marks. Uncirculated examples are more desirable than heavily worn coins, while exceptionally preserved coins that receive high professional grades can attract stronger prices. The best examples may be collected by specialists who are assembling high-grade sets. However, a coin in very damaged condition generally does not benefit from this high-grade demand. In fact, severe damage can make it difficult for the coin to receive a collectible grade from a professional grading service. A damaged coin may still be kept as part of a collection, but its value will normally be much lower than that of an attractive uncirculated specimen. The biggest opportunity for a damaged 1998 D cent would be if the coin also contains a genuine and significant mint error. Even then, the damage must be carefully separated from the error. A coin with an authentic major mint error can potentially be valuable, but a coin that is merely scratched, corroded, or damaged after leaving the mint should not be described as a rare error coin. Collector demand for modern Lincoln cents remains strong because these coins are affordable, easy to find, and enjoyable to search. Many collectors enjoy examining rolls of pennies and pocket change for varieties and errors. This makes the 1998 D cent an interesting coin for beginners, even if most examples are not worth large sums of money. Now we come to the question that many viewers are most interested in. How much is a 1998 D Lincoln cent worth? For a normal 1998 D cent in heavily damaged condition, the realistic market value is usually around face value or only a small premium, depending on the exact circumstances. In many cases, a damaged example may be worth just 1 cent to perhaps a few cents to a collector who needs it for a date and mint mark collection. The coin's condition is the major limiting factor. For ordinary circulated examples without significant errors or varieties, values generally remain modest. Even attractive circulated coins are not normally considered major auction rarities. The market becomes more interesting when the coin is in brilliant uncirculated condition or has been professionally graded at a high level. High-grade examples can command stronger prices because collectors compete for the finest known or finest certified pieces. However, viewers should be very careful when hearing claims that a common 1998 D penny is automatically worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. Such claims often confuse an ordinary coin with a rare error, a special variety, or an exceptionally high-grade certified example. The most valuable 1998 D cents would generally need something special to justify a substantial premium. This could include a confirmed major mint error, a recognized die variety, or an extremely high certified grade. In such cases, auction results can potentially reach much higher levels than the value of an ordinary circulated coin. But these exceptional prices should never be used as the expected value for every 1998 D penny. For a very damaged 1998 D cent specifically, a realistic estimate is usually low unless the damage is actually being mistaken for a legitimate mint-made error. If the coin has severe scratches, corrosion, holes, bending, or other post-mint damage, collectors should not expect a large auction price. The coin could still be interesting, but rarity and value are two different things. This is why professional authentication is important before assuming that a coin is worth a large amount of money. If you believe your 1998 D cent has an unusual mint error, compare it with trusted reference materials and consider submitting it to a respected professional grading and authentication service. A genuine error supported by certification has a much stronger position in the marketplace than an unverified claim. If you discover a 1998 D Lincoln cent that appears unusual, the first thing you should do is avoid cleaning it. Never use chemicals, abrasive materials, polishing compounds, or household cleaners to make an old coin look better. Cleaning can permanently damage the surfaces and may significantly reduce the coin's collector appeal. Next, examine the coin under good lighting with a magnifying glass or a proper coin loop. Look closely at the date, mint mark, lettering, portrait, rim, and reverse design. Pay particular attention to anything that appears unusual, but remember that unusual does not automatically mean valuable. Compare the feature with photographs of known mint errors and varieties. You should also determine whether the unusual feature could have happened after the coin left the mint. Scratches, dents, corrosion, environmental damage, and discoloration are extremely common. If the feature appears to be caused by circulation or mishandling, it is generally considered damage rather than a mint error. If you think you have discovered a genuine error, take clear photographs of both sides of the coin, as well as close-up images of the unusual area. This can help experienced collectors and experts evaluate the coin. For potentially valuable pieces, professional authentication and grading may be worthwhile. Collectors should also be cautious about online listings that claim enormous values for ordinary coins. An asking price on an internet marketplace is not the same as a completed auction sale. The best way to understand market value is to research actual sold examples of the same date, mint mark, condition, and error type. Finally, remember that collecting coins is about more than finding a jackpot. Every coin tells a story about American history, manufacturing, commerce, and everyday life. Even a damaged 1998 D cent can be an interesting part of a collection, especially when it helps a new collector learn how to identify mint marks, varieties, errors, and condition. The 1998 D Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin is an interesting piece of modern American coinage, but a very damaged example should not automatically be considered a rare or highly valuable coin. 1998 D mint mark identifies the Denver Mint, and the coin belongs to the famous Lincoln Memorial cent series that was produced for decades. The key to understanding the value of this coin is condition and authenticity. A heavily damaged 1998 D cent will generally have little monetary value beyond its face value or a small collector premium. However, if the coin contains a genuine mint error or recognized variety, the situation could be very different. Exceptional examples, especially those that are professionally authenticated and graded, may attract greater attention from collectors and potentially achieve stronger prices at auction. So, before you throw an unusual 1998 D penny into a jar or spend it without a second thought, take a moment to examine it carefully. Look at the date, check the D mint mark, inspect the surfaces, and determine whether what you are seeing is genuine mint-made variety or simply damage from years of circulation. And remember, the world of coin collecting is full of surprises. A common-looking penny may teach you something valuable, even when it is not worth a fortune. The real excitement comes from learning how to recognize the difference between an ordinary coin, a damaged coin, a scarce variety, and a truly rare mint error. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about valuable Lincoln cents, rare US coins, mint errors, auction records, and hidden treasures that may still be found in everyday change, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you never miss our next video, and keep checking your coins carefully. You never know what you might discover.